Hey, just so schedule obviously came out today. Just for you with all the questions about is there's going to be a season at all, just to see, on paper finally you have some dates, a schedule lined up. Just kind of what was your first reaction when you just saw just that in general?
Let's put the ball down. Yeah, that was the first reaction. Put the ball down and continue to work like we've been doing.
Hey Jerry, how do you approach this season? You're changing positions. It's your senior year, and then you have all of this stuff on top of it. Kind of what's been the mental approach for you to kind of deal with all of the adversity and changes and that kind of thing going into the season?
Well, my life's been full of adversity. Been battling other battles when with Corona and without Corona. It's so much adversity that's been going on in my life over the past years. But I mean, I just got to do what a man got to do. Put your head down and get to work, and depend on my teammates and the coaches to help me out and get through it. So they've been a big help. David Curry, he's been a great mentor and helped me learn like key things to the offense that I didn't notice that we did while I was on that side. But yeah,
Next up is Ken Segura.
Hey, Jerry. I was curious, just have you thought much about, once school starts and more kids are around, how you're going to try to navigate that as far as wearing a mask and kind of keeping a low profile to make sure that you and your teammates are safe?
yes, I plan on following all the protocols that coach has in place. It's been working. I don't know. I don't even know how many if we had any cases. Yeah, so the protocols are in place or they're working well. I have my son with me too, who stayed we stay right on west side of campus. So yeah, I'm definitely following protocols so I can stay healthy and he can stay healthy.
Allison.
Hey, what was your reaction when you saw that the Georgia Tech rivalry was not going to happen this year?
Yeah, I'm pretty upset. It's my senior year. I don't get to play the rival game against Georgia, but I mean, I'm going to treat every other game just like you know it's the biggest game of my life, and give my 100%, 100% of the time.
Rod McKenzie.
Jerry, going back to Kelly's question and piggybacking on that, what has been the hardest adjustment for you in your move to linebacker? And do you think you're making some good strides in that direction?
The hardest thing, I would say, knowing the leverage, attacking the leverage and understanding the leverages, and with that, I mean, just constantly working every day, getting your body mechanics right. That's been the key thing I've been focusing on that'll get me help. That'll help me with leverage and picking the right shoulder and just understanding the games. And Coach Thacker's doing a great job of, telling me each time what I need to do.
Gary, I was just curious, kind of what the off season's been like in terms of getting ready for yourself and dealing with all of this kind of stuff, and how it's been for your teammates, and as a senior leader, kind of how you've approached helping some of the younger guys make an adjustment in kind of an unusual time to get ready to play football.
Um, yeah, it's been my off season. What it looked like, it was just work out every day and do my schoolwork. Um, I say, and the other thing is with the other players, as the leaders of the team, one of the leaders, we just reach out to each other and make sure that we reach out to each like position group, each cohort team, and everything like that, and to make sure that we're all like on the same page. That hey, it's a standard that we have, and we have to be ready by the time we get back. And for the most part, I mean, everybody was ready. It's just getting the same movements and just playing football now.
Alex Glaze.
Hey, Jerry. So been talking to a lot of athletes over the past couple of months, and I think that the common theme with a lot of them is just the appreciation that they now have, maybe that they didn't recognize before, being able to play their sport. Just being back on the field now, and knowing that there is going to be football. Just how have you been able to process all that, and do you kind of share those feelings of a gratitude that maybe you just kind of overlooked in the years that you've been playing before this?
No, I take football very serious. It's never like I treat every practice, every game, every workout as it could be my last, so I can always be ready and ready to step up at any time. So, I mean, now that I know it's back officially and that we got target dates to hit, I mean, it's a great relief because I mean I didn't want to be doing I mean anything can happen tomorrow and I didn't want it this to be my last practice, so I just go as hard as I can.
Okay, we've got time for two more. For Jerry, we'll go with Allison, followed by Ken.
I was just curious among the team. I mean, we've seen it now with the MLB. They've kind of like had to instate like an enforcer almost, like to make sure that guys are following protocol. Is there anyone on, the team that's really making sure you guys are checking in, social distancing, on and off the field, or is it kind of like this unspoken rule that you guys will stick to the plan?
If you want to be the best and have a great season and actually play and get accolades and stuff, then you're gonna follow the protocols. And if you're not a selfish teammate, then you'll follow the protocols. So everybody should be safe. Everybody should do what they need to, and like what needs to be done.
Okay, Ken, last one for Jerry.
Jerry, Coach Collins yesterday was describing some of the things that are different about practice and the way that you guys do things. He was mentioning like the safety loops and so forth. And you're kind of, through 2 days, what jumps out to you the most as wow, this is really, a different way of doing things than we have in the past?
The safety loops are definitely the big thing. Not used to, we're so used to being together and firing up and, chaos and with chaos going around. But with the safety loops, I mean, it's distant. You don't get to really go around each other like that. But I mean, we're making the best of it. We're still trying to the players are still trying to figure out themselves how to keep the energy level high and everything like that. So it's still a process.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, Jerry, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, next up, sixth-year senior linebacker David Curry. And we'll go ahead and open it right up for questions for David. So please raise your hand if you have a question for David Curry. Okay, first up is Allison Mastrangelo. Allison, your question for David.
Totally crushed my last name pronunciation. That was good. Anyway, I've been asking all the guys, can you kind of describe for me, as a sixth-year senior, what it means not to be able to play Georgia Tech rivalry this year?
Yeah, I mean, that was upsetting, not being able to play your rival, getting, one last shot at them. But, I'm so encouraged that we get to play and how serious Coach Collins has taken the epidemic that we're in right now, and that, I just get to play my senior season.
Next up, Kelly Quinlan.
Hey, David, can you talk about what it's like as a senior leader on this team and to be, I guess, trying to help your teammates and help yourself navigate through such an unusual time, and kind of the steps you took in the off season and have taken in practice to help kind of guide players in this weird time as an older player?
Yeah, when it comes to being a leader, of course you got to lead by example and always do the right thing physically, but then at the same time, it's about bringing other guys with you. That's something that Coach Collins and the staff has really taught me over the past year is, it's not good enough if you just do it yourself. You got to help bring your teammates with you. So, I'm really just trying to reach into these younger guys, especially the early enrollees that came in the spring. And then, now we have all the freshmen, and just so we have new guys at the position, even, in the linebacker room, that I'm really just trying to invest in and teach them little things that I learned over a year. I learned so much from Coach Thacker and Coach Collins and all the other coaches throughout the year, and that's how my play got better and better every single week last year. And so everything that I know, I'm trying to pass on to these young guys because, we want to become a dominant, not only a dominant defense, but a dominant linebacker room in this program. And so, as a leader who understands all I think, but I'm constantly learning myself, I'm trying to, pass everything, all my knowledge, all my tricks down to the younger guys.
Ken Segura.
David, I was asking Jerry the same thing. I'm curious, obviously it sounds like you guys are doing a really good job of mitigating risk and wearing masks and all those sorts of things. And I'm curious, kind of, if you thought about like once class starts and there's thousands of kids back on campus and classes and you know camps gatherings, that sort of thing. Have you thought much about I know I'm gonna want to avoid this or not do that or do this as far as just living on campus and that life?
We're gonna wear masks and we're gonna do everything that Coach Collins, all the protocols that he has. But we're gonna. Yes, we're in an epidemic right now, but at the same time, if we're required to be at class, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna socially distance myself in that room and I'm gonna have my mask on and I'm gonna go to class. So I'm gonna do everything that I need to do to make sure that I am taking the right precautions. But I'm gonna try to live as normal of a life in this time as I can.
Thank you.
Rod McKenzie.
David, Coach Collins talked about the change in the routine with the practice schedule and so forth. How are you individually and how are your teammates adjusting to that?
I think everybody's doing a really, really good job, actually. And, it comes down to maturity and, being able to trust the guys. The coaches have so much trust in us. I mean, we just got tested the other day and had, I think, just barely any. I don't even know if we had anybody test positive. So, obviously the guys are doing the right thing, and so when that happens, the coaches can give more trust to us. And but guys are just doing, as I said, doing the right things. They're not going out and walking around, going to bars, doing stuff like that a lot of other places are doing. We're doing the right stuff, and we're taking this very serious because a lot of us here want to play football and we love the game and we want to play.
Alex Glaze, next question.
First of all, nice mustache you got going on there. Really, really appreciate that. So just I asked Jerry this as well. Over the past couple months, we've been talking to a lot of guys, and they've just been talking about maybe an appreciation that they didn't recognize before of just being able to play sports. Just when you see your schedule come out today, you've been back on the practice field. Do you feel that new sense of like, wow, this really something that can be taken away at any moment that maybe you didn't realize before, not because of injury or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah. To be honest with you, I'm a very optimistic person. I figured we were going to play the whole time. I just didn't know who and when, where. And when it came out this morning, my group was walking into practice, and all of us were very excited. I'm excited to go to Florida State for our first game, and now I know what team. I've been, like I said, as a leader, I've been preparing myself with every team that we're going to play, but now I know who we're going to play, so now I can really dive in more, deeper into Florida State, and start learning more about them. But no, I wasn't really shocked. I'm ready to go now.
Okay, we've got time for a couple of more for David. So first, Kelly, followed by Ken.
David, I was just curious, kind of, in terms of just the raw football piece of this, kind of how is the rust level? How are you guys practicing? And have you seen any major strides from some guys in your group that have kind of stood out to you in these first few practices?
I think the coaches are doing an excellent job of giving us the ample amount of rest time in between practice or lifts. The older guys were able to sleep in a little bit longer. So, I think everybody, is well rested. And there's so many guys that look really, Jalen Camp, that's to be expected. He looks unbelievable. Malachi Carter, he's doing really well. The wide receiver group in total looks really, really good. They're going up and getting the ball well. And, as a D-line, I think we're much bigger now. We're able to hold gaps and, we're pass rush and pushing the pocket better. So, I'm just really encouraged all around of what I'm seeing right now. We're just an older, more experienced team. And so with all the production that's coming back from last year, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen this year.
Okay, time for one more for David, and that'll be Ken Segura.
Hey, David. We spoke, it seems like a long time ago in the spring, and I think I was asking you about weight and the challenge of keeping that on when you're, not in the in the cafeteria and eating the team meals. I'm curious kind of where is your weight now and what has that challenge been like over the summer to keep the mass that you have?
Well, I guess I can take you back from when we had that initial conversation. think I was around 225 when we had our conversation. And I ended up coming back to Tech around 228 with, a lot less body fat. So I ended up, very good diet. Luckily, my mother and father, they're able to work from home, so I was able to, have meals cooked for me daily. But then, now going back, getting back here, the coaches feed us like crazy. So I'm probably up to like 233, 234, anywhere balanced from 234 to 230 on a daily basis. So, I'm right at what I want to start the season at. So I feel good.
Okay, David, thank you very much. Okay. Up next, last but not least, certainly, defensive coordinator and linebackers coach Andrew Thacker. And we'll go ahead and open it right up for questions for Coach Thacker. And the first one is from Allison Mastrangelo from WSB.
Hey, I was just curious, with all of the social distancing guidelines in place, is there anything that you're finding that's super hard to kind of teach or run through drills when it comes to your guys on defense?
Hard I don't know if it's hard, but it's just different. Everything's different. Everything's unprecedented. We're going through great strides to think about how we've done everything our entire lives and put the guys in the best position for the health and safety. The first week through the OTAs was a good opportunity for us to kind of test things, and we erred on safety. We erred on keeping masks up. We erred on distance. We literally have circles out here at practice to show what 6 feet apart looks like. I'm coaching about how far people are apart in between periods more than I am doing football scheme at times. So it's just unprecedented. We're figuring it out. Obviously, we had the 9 days to do the OTAs. And then to err on the side of caution, err on the side of slower pace and teaching and pedagogy. Now we're getting to day 2 of camp, and then we're constantly trying to perfect what those are. So apologize, I don't have like the perfect example for you, but everything's different. Everything's different. You've got to be careful about the way in which we think. We're trying to be cutting edge and think of different ways, but I certainly guarantee you we're mindful of how we're coaching, how we're teaching, how we're drilling everything.
Okay, Coach, next up is Robert Binion from SB Nation. Robert?
Coach Thacker, as you think about gauging the progress of the defense, what are the particular statistics or numbers that you're looking at to gauge improvement from either season to season or week to week?
Sure. We haven't made it that far. Certainly that's sort of an off-season scouting deal. Let me be vulnerable with you, but let me be positive with you. We missed marks this past season. We're looking to improve those. Right now, we just don't have that mindset, and I apologize for not answering your question, but we're in day 2 of camp, so we're teaching small things. We've got a whole new group of guys. We've got a whole new group of freshmen. We've got new incomers, just teaching them how we do things, the culture piece of it, base alignments, base techniques, and then just the effort piece that we always talk about. But we fell short on the mark in many places. We've got a million things to improve as far as statistics, but that's as far away from a message as we have right now until we get into the season when we want to hit those marks. So I'm not avoiding your question. I'm really not. We're just so far removed from that thought process right now of just perfecting how we do everything every single day, the effort piece of it. We've been able to teach more so now than we ever have with the pace of the practice, having the OTAs. I think the OTAs, for all the things we've gone through, have been an unbelievably huge positive, specifically for new guys, for incomers, for freshmen. What a great way for them to learn without the stressful environment of going full speed and doing a 2.5-hour grueling practice. So once we start to get into the season, we'll think about those things.
Okay, next up, Patrick Canaro from the Dahlonega Nugget.
Thank you, Mike. Coach Thacker, good morning. Hi, just a quick question, maybe piggybacking on what you just said. Reference your defensive line and knowing that it's early, but can you give us an overview of how that looks heading into the 2020 season with some of the new faces you have on the D-line?
Sure. Most of the new incomers are on the edges. So I know Coach Collins has talked about it a lot. You talk about body types. You talk about literal height, literal length, arm length. And those new young men look different. The Jared Ivies, the Kyle Kennards of the world. We had Aubrey come in today. But just as a defense, as a totality, we've made a big deal about how many returning players we have. And that's showing up. It's showing up in spring practice. It showed up in the OTAs, and it's showing up now. Guys that have cumulative reps, and it is hard to replace that. Apologize for being cheesy, but repetition is the mother of all skills. We've got a bunch of guys with a lot of repetitions. We really do. So just those cumulative reps are showing up from small things like alignment, small things like communication. Then we get to the technical piece of it. So now that their athleticism, the improvements that they've made to their body in the off season, can now take over. So again, you talk about quality of depth. I'll bite on your question a little bit. Don't want to single anyone out, but I will name names. TK Chimdiza has played a lot of reps for us now. Jaimin Brooks, our new big zero and single digit, has been on the interior. Those guys have played a lot of the snaps together. And then you've got depth behind those, some body types. Jahazel Lee, now he is full-time. Last season he was stealing reps at defensive line. He was stealing reps at offensive line. 1 week he was one thing, then he was another, then he went through the injury. He's back to being himself, almost 100% at this point. And now he is a defensive lineman every day, so all the little small technical things that he didn't have the opportunity to learn before, and he just relied on size and strength. Now he's getting that teaching in these environments. Young guys like Michael Lockhart are the body types that we want, but he's got to make huge strides. And then we have other guys, Chris Martin and others that Jaquan Griffin, that have played downs for us. When you get to the perimeter, I would say that's where we look the most different. Antonius Clayton is now live. He is now NCAA eligible and able to be out there. A very good body type at the field 5 technique for us. Chico Bennett has completely reformed his body than what he was 365 days ago as a freshman. Jordan Dominics played over 250 snaps for us out on the edge as well. And then again, you talk about supplementing those new guys, the Jared Ivies, the Kyle Kennards, and then the Curtis Ryans of the world.
Ken Segura, AJC, you're up next.
Hey, Andrew, it's good to see you.
Hey, Kim.
On computer. Jerry Howard was talking about how just that having everyone distanced, and I'm sure that like the pace of practice is so different. And he was saying like they're figuring out how to kind of get that energy going in a different way. And I'm curious, with the way you're doing things, obviously there's a very good reason for it, but what do you feel is lost, and how do you try to replace that in some way?
Cool. Yeah. I'm going to try to take a positive angle, so lost isn't the right word, but I'll just go different. So Ken, to your point, today at the end of practice, we did a 2-minute scenario. Okay. When we do a 2-minute scenario, coach will bring up a player from the offense, a player from the defense, and in a small environment, just amongst those three, he'll explain the situation. It is end of the game. The offense is down 2 points, so the defense, you've got to protect your lead from a field goal. He gives us the amount of time. There was 1 minute and 6 seconds left, right? And then where is the kick line, meaning where do they need to get to for the offense to kick a field goal based off of that field goal kicker. So while they're doing that, the coaches are not preparing the players for 2-minute drill. The coaches are on the sideline making sure that they're in their circles 6 feet apart. So that's what we're mindful of. Now coach blows the whistle. Those 2 individuals run to the sideline to communicate their teammate. Then we're making sure everyone's close with their masks up. We're controlling that environment as opposed to talking to about 2-minute situations. So that's just a situation, Ken, where I'm not sure what's lost, but where it's just different. Our mindfulness of being able to protect our players and have every protocol in place that we know of to do this thing the right way. So that's just kind of an intangible example of what's different. But I still think our guys are year 2 in the culture, so they know that a baseline of our culture is we provide energy, we ask for energy, we require energy, and us for coaches live and die by that creed. So when it's time to go, when it's time to perform, when the ball is down, when we put the ball down, our guys still have very good energy when they're in competitive situations. I would say there's just so many scenarios, again, where we're so mindful of protecting each other.
Rod McKenzie, you're up next.
Andrew, you have some experienced guys coming back in the secondary. You have Carpenter, Thomas, Walton, Swilling, but you also have some pretty good guys behind them. guys like Allen and Spider Sims are in there. They have a year behind them now in the system. What are you seeing from those type of guys? The Huffs and so forth.
Yeah, and then I'm not sure exactly what Coach shared to you, but we were doing a 2-practice tier, so we have plenty of reps. We have plenty of reps to be able to gauge those guys. So in the morning, it's more by grade, it's more by class. Most of our freshmen and sophomore are in the first practice in the AM at 7:30, and then we have a 9 o'clock practice where we repeat the script, repeat the format, and most of our juniors and seniors. So you've got to be mindful of those juniors and seniors getting the reps. Trey and Zamari and Tobias Oliver, new corner, or with that older group, they're getting reps versus Malachi and Jamal Camp in that competitive piece. And in the practice below, the Miles Brooks, the Huffs, the freshmen of the world are getting reps versus the new guys. So you got to be mindful of that situation. But again, I've already talked about it, the D-lineman, and I apologize for the ad nauseum, but we're very excited about the cumulative reps we have and the depth that we have there in real games. You cannot undervalue that. When we came here, we did not inherit that. Now we have that, so we have to use it to our advantage. But it goes without saying we don't have starters yet, but that older group, that Trey Swilling and Tobias Oliver's in that group, and Zamari Walton's that group, and then Spider's been in that group by grade. They've taken great strides. We are an aggressive man tool team, so again, they're in a bunch of competitive situations every single day. They're in continuous one-on-one situations where you can tell who is the winner, who is the loser. So you're able to really get an accurate grade on them earlier than you are with the front 7 when you've got to wait to get pads on. So routes are routes, space is space, one-on-ones are one-on-ones. So you're able to see those things. And then again, you talk about the competitive piece of it, the depth chart. We've got young guns that are very talented and pushing those older guys. So very pleased. I know, Rod, you mentioned the secondary. Maybe some of our most experienced guys are in that setting. And then you mentioned a guy like Derek Allen, who also, similar to Antonius Clayton, set out this past season, and just the talent that's bringing to that group, the competition that's bringing to that group. I'm getting a little bit off topic here, Rod, but more so than ever, I am reconfirmed that kids do not learn best from Zoom calls. I am convicted now more than ever that kids learn kinesthetically. They have muscle memory, that they have to physically do things. So for 9 practices in the OTAs, we had an opportunity for them to have the muscle memory, to have the kinesthetic now awareness to be able to do these things. So now we're getting to practice 1 and practice 2, and I'm really pleased with the product we have so far, specifically with the coverage piece of it. We'll get to shoulder pads, we'll get to full pads. Now we'll get more run specific. We'll worry about taking on blocks, finishing in dominant positions, and tackling.
Okay, our last one in the queue is from Allison Mastrangelo. Allison, last one for Coach Thacker.
I was just curious, you were talking about how everything is so different and you're focusing on, where they are in the field and social distancing. Is there someone that's assigned to make sure, an enforcer, that they're, in the right spot so that you can kind of focus on one thing? Or
I'm waiting for you to finish your question. I have a huge smirk on my face because the definitive, accurate answer is Jeff Collins. That is now his full-time job. He is an elite college football coach. He is an elite football coach, but his mindset and his priorities through this period, which is the 100% the right thing to do, has been micromanaging and being most mindful of the health, the safety, and the protection of our young man. And I trust me when I say this, he takes great pride in it. If he does not see his assistants and his staff and his support staff have the same mindfulness, I guarantee you that he will let us know that in those situations. So I'm being a little bit cute and a little bit coy with your answer, but that is the answer. And then he's got a big operation staff with Scott Wallace and the rest to be able to make sure. Most of our staff meetings involve, how do we best protect our players? That is the common theme of our staff meetings every single day. And it's our job outside of that to make sure that we're being elite football coaches with technique, with scheme, with execution, and with football X's and O's.